So this is something that, we definitely are looking forward to having this conversation. Every time that we speak to people, it has to be like a legendary moment at this point.
I mean, it's only fitting.
Last time we spoke to somebody live, it was Diddy. That was a legendary situation.
You might have heard of him. Shout out to the chairman. Clap it up for him.
That's a fact. Shout out to Diddy. Shout out to Revolt, man. Family from day one, and I really just want to stress the importance of working together and collaboration. It's never competition. So anytime you see anything that Earn Your Leisure does, Revolt is there to support. And anytime that Revolt does something, Earn Your Leisure is there to support. That's the only way we're really going to grow as a community. So I think it's important to highlight that.
Yeah, shout out to Revolt World. Yeah, you can clap it up for that. Feel shy about that. Shout out to the sponsor, State Farm. I know the sponsor here this week. But what you're talking about is that collaboration piece, and it's very important. And, I was reminded backstage about some of those things that we learned about being disruptive. And the challenge I have for everybody and what we're doing is like the most disruptive thing we can do is work together, right? We've never done that before, but I feel like there's a class, there's a society that's being built in this financial revolution, and everybody in here is part of it. That's why you're here. So again, clap it up for yourselves. Yeah, we're gonna build this together.
So, without further ado, we're gonna bring out a very special guest, and I need you guys to make her feel at home, make her feel comfortable. She's not used to public speaking. We was talking backstage, but we're gonna have a very, very great conversation. So please give a round of applause for Lauren London.
Let's do it. Stand to your feet, give us some love, y'all.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I love y'all too.
Oh, the love is in the building.
The love is in the building. Let's get into it. Your career, start on the big screen, and now you're doing things in the business world, right? So how has that transition been for you to be talent as an actress to now becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, I think naturally just, as I've just gotten older and wiser, I really enjoy being behind the scenes much better because it just allows you to have more creative input, at least in my field. I think just being able to produce things and having more access at being a creative director and making clothes and sunglasses and just all those different things, being able to really not hide behind like a character in acting, but being able to like really put my purpose and allow that to align in my creative ventures. So I think that came with just my natural evolution of just being older and being closer to 40. So
shout out to the 80s babies. Yes. So talk about that. Was there a role or was there a time period that you saw, I'm on the wrong end of this, right? I was a talent, but the people who are really making the decisions, the people who really have the biggest impact are the people behind the cameras. Was there a moment that shifted that mindset for you?
I think my life just changing drastically 4 years ago really shifted that for me. I think sometimes life will put you in a mindset of like, I don't want to be fraudulent in my life anymore. I don't want to just be hired work. I want to have some type of purpose in my work. And I think I just wasn't taking jobs for maintenance anymore. Like I would do a lot of movies or TV shows to maintain, some type of financial access in my life. And I just was tired of that. And I was okay with just not making a certain amount of money for the bigger picture. And I think that my life drastically changing made me not want to pretend anymore. I really wanted to be in my purpose and really put stuff out there that didn't take away from the world, but that put into the world.
So, clap it up for that.
Oh, thank
very
you.
Important.
They're here, don't worry.
So you've been very vocal about your spirituality, and how do you relate that to business? Like, how do you use your discernment? How do you use your intuition to know, like, this is something that I want to get behind, or this is something that I don't want to get behind?
That's a really good question because it's really unconventional how I do it these days, because a lot of times I'll get opportunity and I'll have to tell everybody like, let me meditate on this before I just jump in it. And that's always weird to do in big meetings because they're like, but...
You doing that in the meeting, like, give me a second?
Yeah. I'm like, let me sit with this. Let me go home. Let me like really process this, what this looks like. can I be truthful in my contribution to this? And so that's really important for me too, is just being authentic in everything that I do. And so I take moments. I don't necessarily, and I say no to a lot of things. I'm not afraid to say no to money if it doesn't align with the larger objective.
They clapping, but that's not easy.
Let me just follow up on that. Do you have any people that you consult? Do you have like advisors or different things of that nature? Like how does that look as far? Because not just for you, I think people in general, right? There's a lot of creatives and there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this crowd. And one of the hardest things you have to do is to make those type of decisions. And it's like, well, the money is good, but I don't really feel good about it. But this might help my career. It's a wrestling match that you have to have with yourself. So yeah, I just, but think it'd be interesting to kind of just share your decision-making process. Maybe some people can gain some insight on that.
So it's up and down. Sometimes all you really can depend on is your inner self. You might not have someone that you trust or that has been in the same, path as you. Sometimes that's the whole point of faith, is trusting your inner compass. And so, I have a code, so I don't get off my code. I don't, I have a square I stand on. And if it's off that square, I don't do it. But I do have a business partner that I work with that I really do trust. And I think she's incredibly smart. But then sometimes it is just in me. And I gotta trust that. And you can't be afraid to run from a dollar or say no. You know what I mean? You just can't. And I've done a lot of bullshit in my career. So it's like I have done things I'm not so, I don't have no regrets, but I have things that I know that I just did because I got the advice of, it's good for your career. But it's like, was it, or was it just maintenance?
Yeah, I feel like that's like the Hollywood story. You get do this will help your career, but internally it's like, this doesn't even feel right. But we spoke a little bit backstage. You were talking about that process of, for us, that American dream. It was go to school, get a good job, make enough money to maintain your life. But when you spoke about that from the movie industry, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about that. Take this job, maintain, but nobody's talking about the sustaining of it, the generational piece of it. So can you allude to that and how that shifted for you?
Well, I've been very blessed in my career to have opportunities and consistent job flow. But more recently in my career, I was like, am I taking the jobs for money, or am I taking them because I can be a true participant in this? And I realized that if I'm not authentic and honest, I'm whack. Like, I'm not doing it right. I'm not showing up 100%. I'm not even doing the job justice. And so now I just have to make sure that I can be myself in every, like, I wouldn't do this if I didn't feel like I can really contribute, or that I can show up authentic and be me. So if it's not that, I won't do it. Does that answer your question, or did I just go off?
No, you go
or
off,
maybe
that's
you should
fine.
Ask me in another word, cause...
No. Because as you was thinking, I'm thinking of the next thing was like, yes, I'm taking these jobs, but then I started thinking about what you said about being authentically yourself. And so even as an actress, and an established actress over 20 years...
Ooh, 20 years? Okay, maybe.
Come on, we did the research.
Oh, shit.
I wonder sometimes, because sometimes we see people get lost in the character, right? Like even when you walked out, it was, hey, that's new, hey, Boogie. How do you balance that, right? Because you still have to be Lauren and who you are in the real world, but people look at you as the character that they've watched for their whole lives growing up.
I mean, I feel them. I have people I look at, that I look up to, that are characters that I've watched my whole life too, but I'm so solid in Boogie, can't nothing shake that.
On the hood.
I mean, I feel like that's extremely important as far as using your intuition and being true to yourself, because even what we do, I feel like, they use the term influencer, but I like to use cultural tastemaker because I feel like that's what we're doing. We're curating palette. And it's extremely important that, like, how we look at it is like art. It's not just business. Like, for me, it's more art than it is business. So a lot of things that we do they don't fit the traditional business model. But that's just because that's just how we feel about it. So I feel like if for your business, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a creative, never do something because everybody else is doing it. Or never follow a trend. That's actually not even good business. Because you're not gonna make the most money possible. You're gonna make the most money possible by taking chances, but really drilling down on who you are as a person and curating a space that you feel comfortable with. It's a lot easier to do that than trying to do something that everybody else is doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you're gonna be half-assing it if you are pretending to be what you think people want you to be. Like, it's just, people, you can't buy authenticity, but people always feel it, whether they know that's what they're feeling it or not. You know what I mean? They feel when you're being fraud or when you're pretending to be a half version of yourself. People feel that. They feel when you bring yourself to the table. That's just like human one-on-one, you know?
For sure. So let's talk about the Puma partnership.
Shout out to Puma.
Yes. So what does your relationship with Puma look like? And I believe you have a new capsule that's coming out soon, right?
Yeah, I've done so far 3 collections with them, Forever Stronger, and then the last collection was a LA Love Story. And they've given me, they're such good partners because I'm completely creatively in control of what my name is on. So the photo shoot ideas, the clothing concepts, what I'm actually designing is all me. And they're really allowing, and I feel like, I hope people feel that. It's totally me in these things. And I call it like affirmation wear, because I always put a little something on the clothing that makes you feel good or you can remind yourself about it, right? And so they've just been such a great partnership for me because it's the first time in my career that I've been able to be fully creative and fully myself and it be accepted.
That's important. When I was watching the role, you can clap it up for that.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
That's big.
They a hard audience.
For me.
It's huge. When I was watching the rollout for the LA Love Story, I thought, this is genius. Again, we can see the creativity, but one of the things that I really admired is that you were going into the stores and you were speaking to young ladies.
Yes.
Talk about the intentionality about being in front of young African American, young women in generally, and getting your message out there about being creative and some of the things that you've gone through.
So I feel like another thing that has changed for me is that it's really not about me anymore. Like, I feel like I'm doing soul work. And even if, on any scale, even if it's things people don't see that I do, or if it's things that people see that I do, it's what am I doing for others? I just don't want to like be here for myself, right? I want to leave an imprint. And so a part of these capsules and just a part of my partnership with Puma is to reach back to my community, you know, and just inspire, give some insight, and leaving those activations, I'm always filled up. You know what I mean? Because it's not about me, and it is about the collective. And I think when you are in pain, or if you are sad or depressed, when you get into service, it really is helpful. And so just being of service and just, one of my biggest prayers is like, God, allow them to see you. I don't want them to see me. I just want to be the vessel in anything that I do, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's really important for me.
I know you're an advocate for mental health as well. So has business and becoming an entrepreneur, has that helped you as far as in your mental health process?
Sometimes. Sometimes like, this is driving me crazy. No, but that's the point of staying in alignment with the purpose. That's the point of not skipping over the purpose, is that any time in business, I feel like if I'm being like self-serving or in my ego, I'm like, that's whack. Like, I try to spiritualize everything, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And so I guess it has changed.
Were you always a spiritual person?
I've always loved God, yep. Not to the extent, I think there's always growth. I think I've grown a lot in my understanding of the books that I'm reading. I always talk about theory and application. And so I read a lot of books growing up, and I was in a lot of seminars, and so I understood the theory of things, but now I'm applying them.
So what are some things that you are actually applying that you can like take off of a book and actually, because one of the things that I read a book called The Four Agreements. Anybody ever read that book?
I love The Four Agreements. Yeah, it's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, so when I read that book, it changed my life because agreement number 2 is not to take anything personal. And I was a person that I would hold a grudge. Like you could say something to me in middle school, and I see you 30 years later, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
No, he's not capping. He's really not capping.
So, but when I understood that it's not personal, right? Like, it's a reflection of the pain and hurt that you're in, right? And you're just reflecting that on me. And it really changed the way that I looked at life. And it helped me become a much more successful person because I didn't have any vengeance. I wasn't trying to screw somebody over because they screwed me over, right? It's like I just accepted that now. I stay away from you because you're in a situation where you're dangerous. But I'm also not in a vengeance state. I don't have that in my heart anymore. So like for me, that was an example of reading something and then actually implementing it. And I'm still working on it, but yeah, any examples like that for yourself?
Yeah, I think for me, that was a big lesson for me too, not taking things personal, because I was good for like, why'd they do that to me? I didn't do that I would never do that, but it's not even about me. More recently, I can only speak to recently, I'm trying to work on letting things go and just like being in the flow of things and just like not trying to control everything in my life, and I think that comes from just my personal trauma of like trying to control, what next disaster is gonna happen? So I'm trying to like trust just the flow and trust that I'll be all right no matter what and just like letting it go.
Powerful. So the Puma partnership is something that we can see that has transpired and there's growth that's happening there. But you said you do say no to a lot of things.
Yeah,
right? So,
I mean, you can't be afraid to say no. I always tell people, you don't judge me by what I say yes to, judge me by what I've said no to. You know what I mean?
Good advice. So, and this is interesting from a brand standpoint, if I'm saying no enough, when do I say yes before brands start looking at other people like, you know what, let's not even go her way because
that's on them.
Right, so that, is that something you balance with or you struggle with?
Yeah, you always struggle with, because I'm still human. Like, I'm not about to pretend like I'm just floating on a cloud. Like, no. Yeah. You're like, damn, I hope I made the right decision. But I gotta trust my intuition, and sometimes I might not know if I'm making the right decision till 5 years down the line. I'm like, word. And I also believe that sometimes it's not necessarily the job your protection is coming from. It could be the people working in that environment that you don't need to be in contact with. You know what I mean? So that's big for me too. And I'm big on rejection is protection. I'm big on that. Like, cool, I'm not even supposed to be in that arena maybe. And trust that.
How was it for you to get back and act again, right? Was that therapeutic for you, or was that hard for you? I know you took some time off. Yeah. So when you got back out there and kind of got back into what you started as, how was that transition?
It was different because I wasn't coming in. I used to like go into work like, am I good enough? Is that good enough? Like, I hope that they really like me, and I hope that, I don't suck, at this job. But this time, in my new like growth, I kind of came in like, actually, I have something to give here. You know what I mean? Maybe my gift doesn't necessarily always show up on the camera, but I'm gonna make sure on set I'm pleasant and I'm being of light and love, and I'm like, it's about the collective. And so, yeah, it was therapeutic. Also, I think it was important for my kids to see me get up and go back to work, especially my eldest. He was like, that was really important for him.
Yeah, I mean, you're leading by example. You're leading by demonstration, right?
Yeah.
That's a fact. So as I was watching one of your interviews, and I thought, this is interesting. The thing that you love to do is act. You said that it makes you happy. It is therapeutic. One of the things about acting, or the industry itself, that you didn't enjoy was the business of it. And so what are some of those things inside of this? I mean, we can see now with the strike going on. What are some of the things that you saw then inside of the business that was a red flag to you? Like, I don't like that. We could do this better. I got to get on the other side.
Yeah, I think it's just, the Black story. I would love to see more Black stories and it not be filtered through all these studio execs that might not be of color telling us that it don't work. And, I would also, I feel like we're so dynamic as a people that I didn't necessarily see that being portrayed in, the art that I was in. So that would be the most thing that stood out for me, and just ownership. No,
that's it. That's the bar, right?
Yeah.
So as you're seeing these stories not being portrayed, did it ever inspire you? I wanted to even write or pen a story.
Yeah, I have a lot of stories in my head that it probably my own damn story, but later in life. I did do I collaborated with some writer friends of mine and wrote a TV show idea, and it didn't get picked up, but that's okay. We're not gonna stop. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do.
So, obviously, your mother first, and I know you're big on generational wealth and leaving a legacy for your children. Talk about that as far as the importance of that and balancing being a mom with being an actress and being an entrepreneur and a philanthropist and a voice to many people, and how do you keep that balance?
So my kids they come first, so that's the North Star for me. Like, if it doesn't surround them and their schedule, I just don't do it. But balancing that, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just doing the best that I can. It is not the easiest thing in the world to do, and I do have to say no to a lot of things because my son might have a baseball game, and I'm a single mom, so, I gotta be there for everything, and I want to be there for everything, so that's right, shout out to the single mom. But yeah, I try the best I can, and then as far as generational wealth, my son is 14, and it's just about his education on it. I didn't have education on it. My mom, struggled. She was a single mom. She had 3 jobs, so I knew how to hustle, and I knew how to survive. So I was thinking with the mentality of survival rather than generational wealth. I didn't have the mentality of abundance growing up. So I have those conversations with my son about abundance. You can have so much for so many people, not just yourself, for your kids and their kids and the community. And so we just have those conversations a lot.
Your oldest son is really into finance.
Extreme, yeah, he was in a stock class and everything during COVID. Yeah.
There's 2 guys that we know.
Yeah.
If you
y'all
ever
can definitely, for sure.
We could lend our talents.
I would appreciate that.
What made him get into that?
I don't know. He just got into that. I do know. I have an uncle that is very much into, financial wealth in our community. And I also think just, he grew up in the house with hustle. So Nip was a really big influence on him, for sure.
Wow. So he's learning and he's into finance. But one of those things that, especially now when we meet a lot of people, they're learning as well. And so at this point, are you guys learning?
I'm learning
You're
as
learning
well,
together,
yes.
right? How is that,
too,
right?
Y'all. Well, I asked him a lot of questions, especially with his stock class. He did these stock class program during COVID, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And he's like, "Mom, you need to invest in Tesla." And I'm like, "Okay, how do I do that?" But yeah, I think I've had to work on my mindset around money as well, and understanding that it's an energy too. Even when I was not making enough to pay my car note and all this stuff, I always knew that if I had to put a lot of money into something, it was gonna come back. I never thought with a scarce mentality. I think because I grew up around a lot of people that did. It was steal from Peter to pay Paul. And I was like, I don't wanna do that. I know it's gonna come somewhere, and then it would. I would get another job. At one point, I had 3 jobs.
Got a little Jamaican in your family.
But I think it's very important to highlight that as far as the mindset. You know, we talk about finances a lot. We have a show, we talk about stocks, but no matter how much information you give somebody, if their mind isn't trained properly, it's not gonna matter, right?
Even if it doesn't matter how much money you give somebody, if the mindset is not really tapped into the flow and the abundance and a good mind, a good relationship with wealth.
Yeah,
you know?
and like even for me, like just recently she stopped, but like my mom, forever, she used to tell me like Walmart's having a 2-for-1 sale on bottles of water. And like you can get, you know, napkins for 50 cents off if you get bundle packs. And that's kind of how I grew up. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate the trying to save money aspect, but that's not a pathway to generate wealth. That's a pathway to stay in a middle class mindset where you're constantly looking at things from a scarcity standpoint. Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to save $1.50. I'm gonna spend an hour to cut coupons to save $10. Mm-hmm. As opposed to saying, I'm gonna spend an hour to study charts to make $30,000. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
there was like 2 women that said, that's me you talking about.
No, it's a lot of people, right? That's how a lot of people grew up. And it's done not maliciously, but it's detrimental. So it's like when you talk to your children, be aware of that because words are powerful. So when you tell kids like money doesn't grow on trees and all of these things are very negative standpoints and you're making them already have a scarcity mindset.
Well, we were taught to survive, you know. It wasn't like a thriving environment. It was like, we gotta survive. And so I think a lot of us, our first generation, even talking about generational wealth. I know I am. I wasn't raised in a house where that was even a concept or like available for me.
Yeah, and that's what I think now we have access to so much information. So now it's up to us to change that way of thinking, right? Because it's like, yeah, for sure, clap it up for that. And that's how I always looked at it. Like, I was never scared money. I looked at it like, you can't really lose if you start with nothing. So it's like, if I have $5,000, I'm closer to zero. It's not the end of the world if I go to zero, right? What's the worst that can happen? Even if I have $10,000 saved, if I lose $10,000, I'm not gonna make or break the situation. But if that $10,000 makes me a millionaire, it's gonna change my life. So always look at money, in my opinion, you have to look at money as something that is like a Frisbee. Throw it out. Throw it out because it has to come back. Now, when I throw it out, don't throw it out literally, like in a strip club. That's not intelligent. But I'm saying throw it out, like put it back out there. Put it in investments, buy real estate, buy stocks, put it in business. Money is not meant to be hoarded. Money is meant to circulate amongst each other. That's how when you fully understand that, now you are on a pathway to generate wealth. But when you look at it from a scarcity mindset and every dollar I get, I'm just gonna try to put it under my mattress and I wanna hoard it until I can save enough money to buy a pair of Jordans, well, that's a pathway to poverty. And that's how we were taught. We were taught that money was a voucher for things to buy. You work to get enough money to buy something. I'm gonna work to get enough money to go on a trip. I'm gonna work to get enough money to buy sneakers. I'm gonna work to get enough money to do whatever. You ultimately are only making somebody else rich. Whereas like now we look at it like we work, we get enough money to now we can get more money off of that money. Like if your money isn't working for you, then you'll always be working for money.
Yeah.
That's true.
That was powerful.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm learning. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna stop him.
I was like,
So, I mean, because we hear about it in sports all the time, and Shadi probably can attest to it, when we see athletes or we see entertainers, there's always somebody that they put in their corner, the financial advisor, the financial planner. We never really hear about it from the world of acting and actresses. Was that the case when you got into this space? They're gonna surround you with a team, and hopefully you can trust that team and pray that they don't, take advantage of you and not give you the information to make you better?
So that wasn't necessarily my experience. My experience was that at first I was just managing all my money. It wasn't that much. Like I was managing it, right? And then taxes came and I was like, and so my agent did introduce me to somebody to help me with my taxes, right? Because it was a different tax bracket at that time. And I was like, I don't know what they're, and so, so it's just a business partner and management that can help me invest in things if that comes on the table, or real estate, and just kind of like keeping things in check, yeah. But it wasn't like a group of people that came in. I wouldn't say I made that much for them to want more than one person to come get with it.
They'll take every penny if they can.
No.
I mean, I'm sure.
But you still have to be, I'm sorry. You still have to be extremely involved in your finances. Like, you can't ever not be you being the head of the stuff. Like, you can't just let somebody run it. You have to, they can assist you on what you're doing.
Yeah, we heard a lot of horror stories firsthand. Fat Joe, somebody that we spoke to, he actually went to jail for tax evasion, but it wasn't because he purposely did it. His accountant was stealing the money and didn't pay the taxes. Steve Harvey, somebody else that we interviewed, ended up owing the IRS $30 million because his accountant was taking the money, acting like he was paying the taxes, never paid the taxes. By the time he found out, he was in the hole.
Oh, Lord. Listen, that's why I just pray over my finances. Jesus, please. I do not want that testimony.
What would be your advice for any creators? Because like I said, I know there's a lot of musicians and actors. Always taught, just be talent. Don't worry about that. Let somebody else do it for you. You don't have to be a financial expert, but I think you should at least have some level of eyes on what's happening, as opposed to, like, the old model for music, even Big, that's something like how we grew up. We started listening to music in the 90s. So when Big said stash more cash than Bert Fidel, I didn't know who that was, and I realized that he was the accountant that was handling all of their business. Then I started, and then they was like, yeah, like, if they need money, they just call him, and then he sends them money. I didn't understand that. Like, how is he gonna send you money if you need money? Then they would educate me, like, well, that's how music business works. Like, you call your accountant, you say, I wanna buy a car, he sends you $300,000. But that leads, obviously, to so much embezzlement. And then you add a variety of other different factors where you're moving in and out, you drinking, you hide. These are all things that are put in place on purpose. People don't even fully understand what's going on with their money, and then before you know it, you broke. And the average person, it's hard for them to have sympathy for a musician or an actress or a football player. It was like, if I had the opportunity to make millions of dollars, I would never go broke. But you don't understand how difficult it is when you have so many people tugging at you, and now you have so many different things happening at one time. It's like you was prepared for this, you didn't go to school for it. So I think it's important for people to have that understanding, because it's like, you never know when you might be in that situation.
For sure. What's my advice for that? Well, it just goes back to always you being the point person, and if you do have an accountant, allowing them just to assist you. You being the point person, you have to be your point person. I can't speak for the person that has $30 million. I'm not in that world, so I don't know what.
Not yet.
Yeah. Right. But you know what I mean? I mean, in my experience, I'm not an expert. In my experience, he works with me. It's like, this is what is this and how is this? And I go in there annually and sit with it and work with him and allow him to educate me too on the things I don't understand, as far as the thing, something that I want to invest in. And recently there was an investment, I wanted to do this investment, and it just wasn't smart. So I just didn't do it. You know what I mean? But you have to be the point person. I guess that's a short answer.
And you have to ask questions.
Oh yeah.
That was something.
And don't be afraid to, like, I'm okay that I don't know everything. There's some things I'm well versed in and some things I'm not, and that's okay. So I ask the questions.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we get in situations where we don't even know the question to ask, whether it's right or wrong. And so just having that vulnerability to say, I don't know it, it's something that we gotta work on. Like, we've seen that plenty of times, and we've heard plenty of stories of it. And it's like, we're gonna get taken advantage of if we don't ask it.
But the problem with that is that you have to be educated to ask a question.
You've asked the right. Ask any question. You're right.
No, you have to have some level of education to ask a question. Oftentimes, we don't have enough education to ask a question, and we're embarrassed. So you just don't ask a question at all. That's extremely dangerous. So you should always educate yourself at least enough to be able to ask a question, and always ask a question. Before I did this, I was a financial advisor. I used to always educate people because I realized that people didn't know anything about finances, and you could be highly intelligent in one area that has nothing to do with another area. So never be intimidated or afraid to ask a question, because if you don't ask a question, then your ignorance is going to be used against you.
Every time.
Yeah.
As you were speaking, and
That's
you
what's
clap
up.
up.
I ask questions.
You asked a lot of questions. I'm thinking West LA, right? This is where you grew up.
Yeah.
As you're,
Hey, that's right. That's right.
all right, there's hella people from LA in here. How was that? That was good?
It's like 2 people.
It's okay.
Hella people.
3, and that's enough. It's some in the back too.
Shout out to them.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
3 people from Compton.
They wanted it to be known.
Straight out of Compton.
Straight out of Compton. All right. But as you're growing up, as you're saying, your career's taking off. Again, this is something we see with athletes and we see with entertainers. The survivor's remorse. As you're making it and you're ascending, is there pressure, is there angst to look back and give back to the people who, I guess, maybe have grown up with you, who feel that they've helped you? Is there any have you felt that pressure? Have you had to deal with that?
Yeah, I think naturally, you know, I had a homegirl that tell me, like, you know, who are you helping? Like, okay, I hear you got that, but who are you helping? You know, and so that always stuck with me. But I also never wanted to enable anybody. I did want to like help. So if I could help and it wasn't enabling a bad habit, I'ma for sure help.
Yeah, and help doesn't even have to be a financial thing.
No, it doesn't. I mean, not at all. Like, I used to do music videos, and then I used to, you know, I was also a production assistant before I ever acted. And so when I would see that they needed girls for videos, I would call my homegirls, like, do y'all need a check? Because they're hiring over here. You know what I mean? That's just what I could do with the access that I had at the time. You know what I mean? I think it's very important that you empower and inspire the people closest to you, for sure.
For sure. So you said that you say no to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Talk about the power of saying no and how you say no. Saying no is not easy to do. Mm-hmm. Not just from a corporate standpoint, but like you said, just a regular friend or somebody that you grew up with. A lot of people struggle with that. Even me, like I have a hard time saying no. And sometimes people can't fully express no, so they just go ghost. They stop answering their phone. Nobody wants to have an uncomfortable conversation. It's human nature. So how have you gotten comfortable saying no?
So business-wise, I think it's a little easier because there's other people in place before you that you can just have your business partner or manager or agent just say, oh, this doesn't align with what we're doing right now, thank you. I think it's very important that you have a super objective, which is your purpose. So that's how you know to say no. Like, this actually doesn't align with my super objective, my purpose in life. So no, not really. And then as far as like personal no's, I think boundaries are really important. And I think that you don't necessarily have to say no. You can be very kind and polite, like, I don't have the capacity for that right now.
See, I'm taking those words.
Language is important.
Capacity, alignment.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw somebody, and I think she's sitting here, somebody was giving her a flyer yesterday or a business card, and she was like, no, thank you. And he was like, oh, okay. I was like, damn, I wish I could do that. But
I couldn't do that.
I can't do that. It's just like, thank you so much. And then if you can't, I'm a well-wisher, so I just think, just wish people well if you can't align with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's all.
I'm studying the vocabulary. I got you.
Yeah, just like, thank you so much. Like, blessings. I wish you well. Like, yeah.
Blessings.
No, it's not a dismissal. It's real. Like, I wish you well. Everybody got a journey, and
I wish you well.
Yeah.
Blessings.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm
Don't
taking
turn it into that.
I got it. You brought up the word purpose. Mm-hmm. And again, as your career is going on and you're back in the role of acting, I know you're passionate about it, but do you feel acting is your purpose? And if not, what has become or what has shown itself to you to be your purpose?
See, I think you can fulfill your purpose on really large stages or no stage at all. I'm very big on that. I don't think it has to be amplified or in front of an audience. So, my purpose, I'm working on trying to put that in a sentence, but maybe it's too complicated to ever put in a sentence. But I definitely want to inspire and uplift and motivate and, love on my people. And as far as acting goes, I think it's a avenue. I don't think it's the sole purpose, because I think I can do that at the gas station when I see someone and give them a hug, or, you know what I mean? Anything. Or at my kid's school, or at the family barbecue. You're always in purpose if you're intentional. So acting is definitely an avenue to express that. I feel like if I didn't act, I wouldn't be on the stage, and you know my name because of certain movies that I'm in, and that has allowed me to be here with you guys, and talk about something other than that, which is more important. And so I think it is a window inside of a really big, abundant, unlimited house of things.
So you...
Does that make sense?
I like that. I love that.
I'm speaking from my heart. I don't know if I'm making any kind of sense. I am? Okay, thanks, y'all. Whew, y'all know this is actually my first public speaking situation.
Clap it up for her. They here with you. We here with you.
Okay, y'all here with me. Amen.
So you come from a world of Hollywood acting where a lot of things are fake, right? How do you know who to trust, right? Because that's difficult for people to know, especially in a world like Hollywood. Like, how do you know, like, this is a person that I rock with, I trust this person? That's very difficult to do.
Yes, and I have had people in my life that have shown themselves untrustworthy. So it has been a trial and error for me, as it has been, I think, for everybody. I think it's hard to know off bat, especially when you're in like survival mode and like trauma response relationships. It's hard to tell, right? So I think the more clear I get with myself and more self-love, and the more I get to know me, I'll be way more clear. And then I will attract those types of individuals, Yeah, my friend group isn't necessarily my friend group it was 10 years ago. And some of them are, but some of them aren't, you know what I mean? And so my answer to that is that the more you know yourself, the more you'll be able to tell.
Okay. So knowing that, you have to kind of coordinate and dictate who will be a part of your team. But what was that process like, knowing that these people that I used to align with are no longer aligned with me? Because that's a struggle, right? Especially in some things that we experience, right? Everybody's not meant to go with you on this journey, and everybody's not meant, they're not put here to be on you with any of the journey at all. So how did you distinguish, how did you navigate around that?
As far as like business went, or just like in life?
Yeah, in life.
That's really hard. That was really hard for me because I'm extremely loyal. And so I'll just ride it till the wheels fall off. And at times in previous times, it would be to my detriment, And as I guess got older and wiser, and if somebody doesn't feel good, like, you're not really here for me, or you don't necessarily say the kindest things, or the energy is not vibing with mine, right? I just create distance and a boundary.
How have you been able to deal with like social media, right? Where
I suck at social media. I'm the worst at social media. Oh my God, I'm not.
In what way?
It's like I don't post enough. I'm not. And then I don't know how to navigate it. And like they keep coming with these new platforms, and I just need them to stick to Instagram because I can't do all these other things. I limit my social media experience only because it's just filled with so many opinions, and I believe opinions are like little weapons that hurt everyone to the core, and I don't want to be a part of that.
It's interesting that you said you suck at it. I feel, and maybe it's people out here who feel like it. Every time we get a post from you, it's like, oh, Lauren posted. We got to check this out.
Because I'm not, like, I guess, like, I don't post enough. And I guess I should, but I also don't want to like play the game.
I think it works though, because the scarcity of it, I know when you post something, it's something that's very intentional.
See, and so that's about being authentic. So authenticity is like, you can't go buy that. You got to be that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, people feel that. You know what I mean? Like, they know if I'm posting, I mean it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, she meant that. Like,
You know what you did post in your story?
You said what?
There's something that you posted in your story that
I do post in my story a lot.
Yeah, there was an interview we did that you posted and we were very grateful. I was like, wait, she posted us? This
oh,
shit,
God,
we made it.
Stop.
that was dope. As a mother though, do you limit the access to social media for your children?
Oh yeah, he can't have social media.
Your oldest son? How old is he?
14.
14?
14?
He can have it, he just can't be, like, I have to monitor.
I saw the neck twitch. We shouldn't even ask
Yeah,
that.
no.
I'm just asking because
my job, you know, is part of a part of my, you know, job is to protect my child. And I just know what it does to adults. And I just, you know, he has time until he goes into that realm.
You said something. You said
But no offense, like nothing against anybody that chooses differently. I'm just hella sensitive and I'm still working on, you know, handling my inner self. And somebody say something crazy about my child.
When you post, I'm trying to...
I don't know. So I'll post them sometimes, but...
But are you the person, you're posting it and I'm leaving it? Or are you the person that I post and maybe, let me check the comments real quick.
Both.
Okay.
So
I'm going to keep it 100% both. Yeah.
You said
and
that...
some of them will hurt your feelings. You're like, yeah, no, that's too much. That's not nice.
You said opinions are like little weapons?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Okay. Yes, opinions are weapons. You know what I mean? I think for us to say, like, we're not affected by negative and harsh opinions people have on us would be a lie, and it would take a really, really enlightened person to not be affected. So if I get all these little bitty jabs, it's gonna hurt my core because at some point, maybe I agree with them in a way, or maybe they're touching a part of me that I haven't resolved. And so I think those are like little
For
weapons.
sure. On the flip side of that, like you particularly, you got a lot of outgoing support on social media. Has that helped to uplift you? Or do you
When
not?
I say that the prayers, I always say this, the prayers of strangers have helped me beyond, I can never express. The prayers of strangers have really helped me and uplifted me. Like, I really do feel the love from people that I don't know, that do comment, that do say they pray for me. Like, I don't take that for granted, and I don't take advantage of that. Like, that, you have no idea, the collective prayer, how it has helped me. So thank you, anybody that has ever prayed for me or my family, genuinely, thank you.
Does it make you feel super protected? I feel like anytime your name is brought up, it's just, there's a level of grace that is brought with it, decadence. When people mention you, it almost feels like, of this generation, I was saying to Shadi, like she's in a space where people will always protect, there will never be anything negative. Do you feel that?
I do feel protected in a way. I have to say that. I can't front on that. Like I said, it's the prayer of strangers. I feel like, you know, the world witnessed something crazy traumatic that you know, directly affected me. And yeah, I'm just like, I've been front row with that, with my grief, with my, you know, trying to get back to work, with my motherhood. You know, I think I've been as open as I can be with that. And so I don't think I would be that open if it wasn't received well.
When you think about the legacy that you're building and leaving for your family, for your followers, your supporters, what do you want that legacy to be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Maybe like a lighthouse, like maybe somebody that went through what I went through, or have a friend that's been through, or maybe not exactly what I went through, but like maybe I can help in that way. You know I had people around me that really helped me. And I also feel like, there's a part of my community that doesn't have that reach. And if I can touch them and help them, I would like my legacy to be one of help and insight and inspiration.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. There was this quote that you said, shout out to Angie, you was on in real life, you're as deep as the ocean.
Yeah.
You're as deep as the ocean. And I wonder, would there be a time, or could you see a time in your life where you create a medium to actually share that part of you with the world? Because I'm sure
Absolutely.
people will be inspired by it, people will relate to it, but the fact that it's coming from you would mean so much.
Absolutely. I do believe in timing and, pace. But I know that there's more for me to say and there's more for me to share. And so I believe in not sharing it is gatekeeping it. And I don't want to gatekeep it. It's not mine to keep, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we talked about the Puma partnerships. Is there any other business endeavor that you may be part of right now that you're excited about, or that you would like to potentially get involved with?
Yeah, I want to really get involved in children's books with characters that look like my kids, and moms with long nails and braids and you know what I mean? Moms that wear sneakers and stuff. So yeah, I want to get into children's books that's able to illustrate to children certain concepts that might be hard for us to express to them.
Good. That's from the business side.
Yeah.
We talked about the word assets, anything that adds value to the net worth. Are there assets that you're being introduced to that are now piquing your interest? I know you talked about real estate a little bit. Are there other asset classes?
Real estate, and I just found out that life insurance was a really big asset.
You don't say.
I would also like to leave my sons with some income property. Yeah. So I'm working on that.
Yeah, for sure. Is your youngest son into finances yet, or he's too young?
He's too young. He's into Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. And Roblox. I wish I created Roblox, because the amount of Robux.
That was so. Exactly. We as
Y'all
parents,
know about Roblox?
if they parents, they better know, because their account's getting hit every day.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting lesson that we got to teach our children, right? Because Roblox was a privately held company, and it became a publicly traded company. And so we would tell our kids, if you want to spend money and get Roblox, you should buy stock. And so there became a lesson to teach them about how an IPO happens. It becomes a lesson on how to invest, appreciation, depreciation. Now, that's something that they can pass down. They're investing, we do it through a custodial account, which is something we can do for our children. But now they can have it at 9 years old, and they can track it and see what it does by the time they're 10, 11, 12. They can hold onto it till they're 18, or they can say, you know what, we've made profit and we can take it, and we've generated income. So these are these little intersections where Roblox, it's cost me, and they're enjoying it, but we can also teach.
I'm about to have get to some Robux stocks. Yeah, no, he's not into finance yet. He's just a pure little kid.
That's good. How do you feel about how technology is shaping young people? When you look at artificial intelligence, when you look at all of these different things that we didn't have when we was growing up, right? And we was talking to Van Jones the other day, and he was saying that he has a daughter. I think his daughter just got born, and he was like, when her first crush is probably going to be somebody that's artificially intelligent.
Oh, no. No, I'm just wait, is this where the world is going?
Yeah, like an AI. So I never thought, I'm damn, that's probably true. So it's that's kind of crazy if you think about it, right? So how do you feel about all of this AI and all of the technology that kids are growing up with that adults are still trying to figure out and understand?
Yeah, I mean, I had to ask my son Cameron, wait, so what is this? And how is this, I'm starting to feel like how my mom felt when she wasn't grasping CDs or DVDs, I think my mom still has a VHS. But you know what I mean? So yeah, I kind of feel like a dinosaur in that way. But I think with anything, I do think that technology is great. I think the abuse of it is not.
Abuse, like, what do you mean?
I mean, come on, the whole
like music artists,
like how they're creating these songs from the it's just I think
you don't like that. You don't like that.
I just don't think it's fair. I don't think that it's fair. So no, I'm not a big fan, but I'm old school too, right? So, I'm trying to find that balance. I don't have it yet, but I do think, like I said, with everything, there is a balance, and sometimes it can be great and innovative and can help in so many ways. And then if we abuse it, it's not going to be any good.
We saw the Beyonce song charted, right?
Her song charted, and I think they just nominated, I think the Drake song is nominated for the Grammys.
No, the Drake song's hard.
Nah, it is hard.
That sounds just like Drake.
It's pretty hard.
So what if they do a podcast with your voices and run it?
Well, here's the best thing about that.
Okay.
They can do that.
Okay.
But they can never do this.
True. Right.
Be in front of 1,000,
That's
2,000 people.
Not
That's
yet.
true.
Not
But
yet.
still,
They got a
it's like...
hologram.
Until my hologram screen.
Okay, exactly.
And then I'm
we're
going to run
be...
up on stage on a hologram.
And I will be on somebody's ranch growing my own food, talking about what's happening in the world.
Before we leave, do you have any words for anybody out there that is trying to get it together, trying to find their pathway, may have went through some issues? Everybody goes through issues in life, right? But everybody doesn't fully understand why they went through it, or they're still trying to figure it out. Would you have any words of advice or any words of encouragement?
Sorry, I just don't want to throw anything out there because that'd be
No, for sure.
I'm just trying to think what I tell myself these days. I mean, it sounds really cliche, but you really do have to trust the process. And if you've ever read the book, The Alchemist, are you guys familiar with that book?
One of my favorites.
It's like, pay attention to the omens, you know what I mean? And that book was so great because it's like, oh my God, what's happening? When is he gonna get to where he has to go? You think the whole book is about the destination, but it was really about the journey. And I know that sounds really cliche, but even in my own personal journey, I'm like, damn, every day really does count. Even if I spend that day in the bed, it does count. And be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself.
I want to really just thank you for being here, because this is, having a conversation and you coming out is a rare occasion to speak. And so do that with us, I can speak for both of us. We're going to be eternally grateful for this moment. So thank you again, Lauren, for coming. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, guys.
And being transparent and vulnerable with everybody. We greatly appreciate you. We cherish you. And we're going to continue to support you.
Guys.
Please show some love to Lauren London.
Thank you guys so much.